News.
The coronavirus pandemic has raised questions about what the future may look like for all of us. Well, this week a virtual recovery summit has been taking place involving a wide range of expertise from economists to Olympians, campaigners to broadcasters to try to share ideas on the future of the global economy, leadership and managing change. Professor Muhammad Yunus is the Nobel Peace Laureate and founder of Grameen Bank of Bangladesh, which specialises in lending small amounts of money to the poorest people who are ignored by the conventional banking system. Professor, thanks very much for joining us today. We are obviously facing a huge global crisis, and presumably your worry about the poor, everyone's worried about the most poor, is that it's going to be even harder for them.
Yes, it would be. Thank you, Geeta, for inviting me. Yes, I was in the recovery summit, and I was raising the issue whether we should even call it a recovery, because coronavirus has stopped the whole economic machine, and whether we should restart the engine. And I was arguing that we should not, because it created a lot of problems for us in the past. The moment the corona came, at that moment, the world was not in a happy situation. And the world was surrounded with these big problems of global warming. And we were on a countdown situation that we are almost at the end of our rope, that the world will be over. And that's not too long ahead of us. And then we had the problem of wealth concentration, the concentration of all the wealth going in one direction. And bulk of the people have very little to live with. So that's not a happy situation either.
But
and then,
isn't
of course, the question...
obviously,
yeah,
but lots of people have been saying we need to reshape the economy, not sort of go back to where we were. But even going back to where we were is hard enough. How, in practice, do you actually change all these economies, all these businesses to make them more green and more sustainable or redistribute wealth? How do you what are you practically suggesting?
Well, for me, first thing to decide that we don't want to go back. This is suicidal. Why should we go back and end the world with all the problems that we had? So this is an opportunity that we have. Coronavirus gave the opportunity to make a new start. You said it's been difficult to go back. So why go to the difficult way of committing suicide? Make it a difficult way to find something else which is better, where there'll be no global warming. It's possible. New ideas, new thinking. Get rid of the old ways of doing things. Find the new ways of doing things. Who are doing new things, and we are talking about many new options are possible. And now try those kind of things. If we're going to give bailout packages to revive the old engine, I would rather spend that bailout packages to design the new engine to go in a different direction. For example, you mentioned about the poor people. Why should we just keep the poor people alive rather than give them a chance to have a full life for themselves? There are ways to do that. We redesigned the entire financial system. This is in the middle of the whole problem, the financial system itself. Financial system is a vehicle to make the wealth concentration possible. If we redesign it in a way that instead of wealth getting concentrated, wealth will be distributed among people, as a financial system can be reversed in the way that it can be done. We have shown the ways to do that. We talk about how to bring services to the poor people, challenge the whole banking system, saying it should not be just dependent only on collateral. There's a non-collateralized banking is all possible. That's what the microcredit is all about, designing things. And we see all the migrant workers in India, Bangladesh, and so on, going home. Why people have to leave home? Why can't they find their livelihood right where they are born? It's possible. It's a rethinking. The institution has to build in a different way rather than following the same path.
So just to take, for example, that practical example that we're seeing in India and elsewhere, yes, people going back to rural places. Do you think it is likely that they will stay there and therefore financing and funding should be given to them to stay there rather than return to the cities, even if existing jobs are more likely to be in demand in the cities?
Sure, we can make a beginning. That's my point. We're not day one, everybody will stay home, but we can make a beginning. All we have to agree that rural areas should not be considered as a labor-producing factories. That they produce labor, they have to go in cities, finding cities to work for. That's not what it should be. The rural economy itself should be an economy, a parallel economy, which will give them opportunity to stay there and so on. Again, financial institutions become the most important thing to make that happen. And rural institutions have to be designed to work in the rural areas rather than bring the urban institutions to work in the rural areas without knowing what the rural areas are all about. So why the migrant workers have to migrate? Why can't they find the opportunity there? This is where all the food is produced, agriculture is produced now. With agriculture, why should it be primary produce that go out? Why can't we process it where it is created, where it is produced? So those are the kind of things. We have to reinvent the whole thing in a different way, not just the appendix economy of the rural areas trying to serve the urban areas and so on. Today, with the technology, a lot of things can happen, replace, relocate, reconceptualize the institutions and so on. This is what I'm arguing for.
Professor Yunus, and much to talk about, but thank you very much indeed for your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Geeta.